Order with the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome. Let the record reflect that all board members are here and accounted for. Board chair comments. So next month or in a couple weeks here, we have our organizational meeting on the 10th. There's a couple things that I want you guys to come prepared to talk about. I want you guys to put some thinking about board compensation, self-evaluation, and superintendent evaluation. I'd like to set dates for those two things, and I'd like to have a good conversation that night on compensation. With that said, going on to approval of agenda. Somebody make that motion.
So
Second.
It's been moved by Director Hofstad, seconded by Director Lang to approve the agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? All who abstain. Motion passes 6-0-0. Agenda is approved. Appreciation, recognition, and presentations. Whoops. Oh,
Perfect timing. Get you guys in and out of here. All right, tonight here for recognition, we have Jacob Albright, and Jacob Leibold. These two young men spoke at a board meeting and they wanted change policy. This policy was up for review, so it was perfect timing on their end. They were passionate about the ability to get into our fitness center. And they believed that through their personal responsibility, through their matureness, that we can handle having 16 plus alone in the fitness center, provided that the family has a family membership. And they went about it the right way. You know, they very well could have taken a fob and just done it anyways, but they went through the process, and that's exactly what the process is all about. And so we thank you for advocating not only for yourselves but for future students and athletes. I know you have brothers in the programs, and they're going to be able to utilize these things too. We can't always staff it, especially in the afternoons come summertime, and that's exactly what we're going to be able to do, is allow our kids to go out and have these summer jobs, and then should they want to come in and get a workout in to better themselves, they're going to be able to do that because of what you guys did. So congratulations, thank you for being here.
I got some certificates for you, and they're gonna take the
We gotta
picture.
have a picture taken.
You don't get out of here without a picture. Come around.
Am I?
Just push the chair.
They're taller than all of us.
Sure, you wanna come right here?
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Angela has to move forward.
Every time.
2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Good.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
And that's just proof that the board doesn't get everything right the first time. So, and sometimes policies come and go out of fashion. So Thank you, boys,
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you, guys.
young men, whatever. No,
And I have one.
okay.
So I have a certificate of completion for Angela Roaring from MSBA.
Okay.
Because she has finished all phases of training, 1, 2, 3, and 4 that MSBA provides. So thank you, congratulations.
Okay.
Okay. Any other appreciation, recognition, or presentations? All right, recognition of citizens for input purposes. Anybody want to speak? Anybody want to speak? All right. Reports and news, board committee reports.
Mid-state met last Wednesday, Mr. Chair, and there, again, some resignations and some new hires. There are some major concerns about COVID in that building and the Omnicon. So they're really requesting masks be worn more often by not only the teachers, but the students and anyone entering that building. There are a lot of fragile kids in there, and that's why. So we don't want them coming out with some respiratory issue that they will not be able to survive. So there was a big discussion about that. We didn't all agree on what we should have done as a board, but that's what boards are for. We don't always all agree. I wanted the masks all the time. The others, not so much, but that's why it's there. Other than that, nothing much. Review will be coming up again for their leader of the pack, Simone Boland, and there's a little self-evaluation of that work too coming up in the new year. That's all.
Okay. Any other finance policy?
Finance will meet tomorrow.
All right. All right, superintendent's report.
So, first of all, I just want to thank our staff and community for the support with the decision that we made Thursday. Law enforcement is still furthering their investigation. However, there is no threat to students, staff, or families at this time. And so we'll cooperate with them, work with them as necessary. And they're keeping in touch with myself and surrounding superintendents. So I appreciate all the support. We worked through the weekend on this. Just to give you another update as well, on our data request, so far we've spent $1,175 in attorney costs for just the data request. Now the 6,000 emails that will be reviewed by them first for data privacy is beginning. I don't know how long that will take them. Obviously, that's quite a few. So that could run us up to about 5,000. He's estimated. I don't know for sure what it will cost. He doesn't know, but he estimated around $5,000. So I'll just keep you posted on what we learn about that. And just so everyone knows too, kids are back in school today. It's lots of smiles. Everybody's excited, of course, because this is a short week and Thursday is fun in the afternoon with parties and games. And so it's a real good atmosphere and we're pleased. And then Mr. Newman's worked to reschedule all games that were missed and things. So we'll get that all organized as well.
Okay. Principal's report.
Can we go there?
Yeah.
But the Christmas program went really well and I put special emphasis on that because we had a sub teacher. So twice now we've had sub teachers and have been able to put on a Christmas program. So she worked very hard and stayed calm and everybody came together. So it's always I always appreciate how everybody works and gives of their time to make that work. We have 3 big goals we keep working on. One, thanks for your support for the new reading program, Benchmark Advance. And it's been a challenge, but I think we've turned the corner a little bit. I'm hearing a lot more positive comments. We've had 2 full days of training and we have 1 more coming up. So with that kind of exchange and training, and then just about every Wednesday, grade levels are meeting together in PLCs and talking about the program and in our faculty meetings. So it's a big thing because we've invested a lot of money in it, but it's also a 7-year project of really working to elevate our performance in reading. So reading, writing, it's an English language arts program. And yeah, I'm complimenting the staff. I think everybody's positive and working hard. As a board, you're part of that commitment, so I wanted to share that. That's really been our #1 objective this year, and I feel good about how it's going. The other one we work hard on is Catalyst. It used to be Envoy. And the format we're using, about once every 3 weeks, we have a 7:30 morning meeting where a consultant from Catalyst comes in and does a half-hour workshop. And there's role playing, involving the staff and sharing good information. We're probably having 2 of the best people in the whole state. They are really, really good. So the staff looks forward to that, teachers. And the really good thing about it is after the training, then there's coaching during that day on the specific things that were presented. So teachers get feedback immediately, they're trying things. And it's things like doing checklists as a whole class. Here's what we're doing, the order that we're doing, signs and images to help the children get more independence. When they come with a question, the teacher can just, here's what we're doing. We've laid all that out. Using nonverbals for class management. And there's various easy gestures that are used, and the students begin to understand that and respond back to that. And how to approach a student who's misbehaving. So strategies for that. And when teachers are trying these things, they're actually working. So sharing among each other, and I feel really good about that. So we're going to keep building on that, extend that to working with the paras. And it's not new, it's been like a 4-year effort, but to keep refining it and working together. And one of the goals is to reduce unnecessary teacher talk. So instead of, hey, you get over there, move away from the locker, you're not lined up straight. Just a couple signals and working with the kids, you don't have to use any of that verbal talk, and they actually respond better to the nonverbals. So it creates a more peaceful, orderly classroom. I met with the paras today, and there was a consensus that student behavior was much improved. So over last year, and some of that is just feeling good about not everybody having to wear masks and all those routines, but they really do feel that they're seeing positive things with the students. So there's that. And then the other big project is working with the English language arts standards and integrating that with our new curriculum. So identifying where those standards are taught, beginning to developing our learning targets or learning goals from that. We are working toward pacing calendars. So for example, in kindergarten, they have mapped out the entire year exactly what lessons they're going to be teaching and when. So even if a sub comes in, here's where we're at. And the other grade levels are doing similar things. So that's what we're working on, laying the whole year out. And it's going to lead to developing assessments, taking what's there with the program and shaping it for our needs based on the English language arts standards. So those are 3 big projects along with PBIS and emotional social learning. So we have a great group of people working to support student behavior work, supporting adults. Our new social worker has been fantastic. So I think morale, I had a leadership team meeting. I thought, oh gosh, people are really worn out. But then the last 2 meetings I had, Dr. Workamp was at our faculty meeting. I think it was because it was ugly sweater day or something, but they were really positive. It was my first day of school. I thought, oh, this is quite a turnaround. And then I met with the paras and they were just same thing, very positive and supportive. So I think, keep building on that momentum. And I think that system-wide, the support they're feeling. So.
And I can add on that we have also been doing walkthroughs, the principals and myself, and now Phil's actually had the opportunity to come over here and do walkthroughs here, and Joel and Tony have gone with me over the elementary down there. So explaining to teachers, it's not about them, it's about us calibrating first as leaders to understand what does student engagement really look like. Have those conversations, like, what did you see, what did you see? Let's talk about what that might mean or might not mean. And then also looking for those learning targets. Are those rigorous learning targets? Are they meeting to the priority standard that they're having for that particular day? So it's been positive, and we'll keep doing that. And then I'm bringing in a district leadership team that basically takes the building leadership teams and pulls them together. And we'll meet occasionally. I don't know if it'll be maybe every 6 weeks probably. And then talk and calibrate to make sure we can have vertical alignment with what we're doing. So we have to transition up.
So I have a question. I was just told at one time, just if you have a question, it's gotta be somebody else wondering it. So if the teachers and paras are getting training on nonverbal prompts for kids in elementary, are we giving any training to middle school and high school? I mean, if the kids are trained on nonverbal prompts once they get here, do the teachers here, do they get any training in that, or? I mean, because if the kids know what they are, or does it just not work once they get so old, or, I don't know, it's a question.
I think the advantage of the elementary school is kids are with one person all day, so they get
Sure.
consistent. The challenge at the high school is you have 6 teachers that all might have a bit of a different interpretation of what nonverbal prompts are.
prompt is?
But there is value in that, because over the course of time, your students learn those nonverbal prompts.
Yeah, just the major ones, I don't know.
PBIS is across the entire system.
Yes.
So those positive behavior interventions or supports are across the entire system. He has, in fact, Tony's the PBIS coordinator and for the high school, middle school, so that some of those are in place. Catalyst is a really good program. And there are other opportunities that we could look at in our future too, around communication protocols and such that can be stretched across. But the nice unifying behavior approach is PBIS right now in our district, and we'll just keep, that's always a work in progress too, is teachers are training and learn more, and
Well,
students get used to it.
PBIS changes, right?
Yeah.
Is ever changing, so I mean, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Not to forget what I was gonna say. We recently had the band and choir holiday concerts, which were well attended and well performed by our students. It's always fun to see, they've refined the process down of having like the band concert goes 2 groups, clear the gym, and then we bring in another 2 groups, and we had to do that with COVID, but boy, it was like, really, really like this. And allows people to get closer to the music if they'd like, less traffic, less people moving around. You get one little kid up in the bleachers stomping around and it's hard to hear the music, but there's less of that when we have that set up. So both concerts were well done. I know that people may be uncomfortable with the audience participation in the choir concert, but they participated. They got up and sang, and it was it was uplifting. Last week we did the Lions Club in coordination with the elementary school. We did the vision testing for grades 1 through 5. That is the critical point. One of the missions of the Lions, and I'm a Lions member and have been for 10 years, is catching those kids at the elementary level with vision. And the cameras that we use are, we had a little kid, a 5th grader actually asked, "Is this gonna hurt?" No. I was like taking a look into that camera for about 5 seconds, and the thing takes a picture, and they don't know whether they passed but the camera tells us if the reading, if a vision screening by a doctor is warranted. We hit print, it prints it off, the nurses send that home to parents then, and they have a thing that they can take right to their eye doctor saying this is what the vision test said. We probably, I want to say, between 10 and 12 students that we identified during the testing that may or may not have been receiving eye care. So it was very good with the events of Thursday and Friday, then with the late start. We were scheduled to do the high school, the kindergarten, and all of the high school on Thursday, but with a 2-hour late start, you start getting into lunches, and we decided to postpone till after the holiday. So we had 3 Lions, well, including myself, 4 Lions members there helping with the testing, and the teachers at the elementary did a great job of getting the kids lined up, and it really just, they snapped right through, and we got it done. So I mean, think about having a kid stand at the eye chart and read the lines, how long that's going to take to get 70 kids through. We did the entire elementary building in a little less than about 3 hours. So thanks to the Lions Club for their continued partnership. It is a central mission of the Lions is vision. And so it's a good project for the Lions, and it's a great opportunity for the school. The last thing, just 2 more things, actually. I have one of the projects we're working on at the high school is assessment. And for the last couple of years, we've been aligning our curriculum to the standards, identifying priority standards of things that you absolutely have to have. And then there's supporting standards of things that get covered as you're covering priority standards. Our goal is to align our assessments to the things that those priority standards that are being taught. I almost think I taught a college class for St. Mary's, and it was curriculum and design. And it was actually, we worked on backward design was the model where you work back from your assessment, work back. For those of you that play, I always use this analogy with my, I like analogies, but I'm use it with my staff. If you're doing bracketology in March, doing the 64 basketball tournament, NCAA bracket, it's a heck of a lot easier if you know who the champion is when you start putting it together, right? And so for testing, if you know what the goal is, and you start working back as to what pathway do you need to get where you want them to go, that is a useful tool for teachers. And we will be working on this for, this is going to be an ongoing thing. It's going to take a while for us to align that, but we have some different ways of doing it, assessment pieces, and so teachers are just starting to get to work on taking those assessments apart and aligning the power standards. The last thing is I wanted to thank Tony Newman as the assistant principal. The first couple months have been, Tony's kind of adopted the middle school, and there's days where he's busy with sports and doing things, and some things have come up, and we have been able to communicate when we run into each other, and there's days where he's had some good ones.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I work that out, but
Yeah.
I need to figure out how that's happening. He's really done a nice job. He does a very good job with the students. We think very much alike in terms of handling student discipline and behavior, and what are the goals. And he's open to, both of us have conversations with each other to figure out what's the best course forward. And so he has done just a really nice job. And that's on top of being the COVID coordinator, which is still omnipresent, and being in activities where we're having cancellations and reffing shortages and fulfilling occasional duties. And I know that job is minute to minute. He has handled it incredibly well, and we will continue to refine how we work together in that capacity. But I'd just like to thank him for his efforts so far. So that's all I got.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. The board is consenting to approve items listed below as presented at one time. At any point, a director can pull an item from the consent agenda for further discussion. Would somebody like to move the consent agenda?
I'll motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's moved by Director Bauman and seconded by Director Roaring to approve A through E on the consent agenda, which includes approval of the regular board minutes, approval of the truth and taxation minutes, claims, accounts, and financial, approval of resignations, approval of new hires. Is there any discussion? Would anybody like to remove something from the consent agenda? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All abstain. Motion passes 6-0. Consent agenda is approved. Okay, moving on to discussion, information, and action items. The final levy. Motion to approve the final levy. I have it here, or you're gonna talk about it. That's great.
No, go ahead, you got it.
I have it.
Need my bid?
He's probably a lot better at it than I am, so.
No, so
Scott?
typically that is, for those who don't know me, I'm Scott Ryan. I'm the business manager for Royalton now, took over. And our company is School Management Services. If you guys were here last week, I mentioned that, or last month, maybe, I don't know, they all roll into one. I'll try to crack some jokes every now and then, because I know finances, people's eyes go cross-eyed and that's really boring. But as far as the levy, typically you guys will do that on the same night, but last week you guys had the concert, so that was not, the resolution wasn't done. That will need to be done tonight. And also the levy certification will need to be signed by the clerk. Ryan? Yeah. So it is Ryan, right? It is. All right, you just have to spell it difficult, right? So that will need to be signed tonight. So Mr. Board Chair, I don't know from a policy from your guys' standpoint, if you guys want to read that or because I looked forward in the minutes or in the agenda and I don't see it listed. So how do you want to go about that piece of it?
How do you normally handle it?
It's usually just done, so the resolution was at the end of the slide of Eller's slide last
Yeah,
week.
yeah.
And then usually you guys just approve it. You guys approve the minutes, so.
Let me pull the board. You guys okay just shooting from the hip here? We've covered all this information twice now in the last 6 weeks, so.
Yep.
We're good with it.
Okay, perfect. I don't know if you guys need to vote on each one of these as we go through, or if you just want me to go through them all together.
We'll go through them all together. We'll vote at the end.
Perfect, okay.
Is that everybody okay with that?
All right, and then when I did send off the levy certification, I did verify that all the numbers were correct, what Ellers, they weren't lying to you, they were being truthful. So the next thing that I'm gonna talk about is the CARES funding. I'll kind of group that all together, and Christine and I will kind of tag team this together. So when just coming into the district for not even a month now, a lot of times I have to go back to see where we've been before I can see where we're going. So if you want to pull up the PowerPoint for, there you go. All right. So Christine and I went through this. She said that the board, you guys wanted to see how this, where's all the CARES funding going? You can just reduce the size by from 147. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. And to the credit of the previous business manager, a lot of these CARES funds, they've been rolling in all the time. Ever since COVID hit, we've been getting a lot of new funds all the time. So when you guys have gone through and you've approved different funds, I don't know if you guys know where they all are coming from, what they're supposed to be used for, but MDE, they give us a lot of stipulations around what we can use these funds for. So I just wanted to, Christine and I were kind of brainstorming, and I just started writing who, what, when, where, just give you all the questions and what they're used for. So I'm not going to board you and read every single one of these, but I give you each one of these FIN numbers, and the FIN stands for finance code. And then how much is it for our particular district? And then when can they be used? And then where can they be used? And that the where is coming from MDE and the federal guidelines of what these funds have to be used for. And I have to thank Christine, because I showed this to another district and now I'm doing it for all my districts. So thanks a lot, Christine. So
The dates are really helpful though.
yeah,
The
exactly.
dates are really helpful.
The whole
Yeah.
thing is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
can see
the,
why you're using them.
Yeah.
Exactly, and I think
That's
everybody really appreciates it too, so, and I think the nice thing where Christine and I work together is that we have different philosophies of how these funds are, I shouldn't say different philosophies, I like to, my personal belief, I want to use all the funds immediately, like, let's use them up, whether that's gonna be supplanting or using towards general education dollars so that we can grow our fund balance. However, she wants to, take this out throughout the path, which is great too. That's nothing wrong with that either. And I like that. So we can do things differently and go with what's already been recommended and where you guys have talked about, and then we'll formulate our own plan. So first couple slides give you the who, what, when, where, and then the going down, we have continued fin codes. And I should just point out too, that every district may have some different fin codes. Where we may not apply to some of those, but these are the ones that Royalton applies to and has received, or we need to budget for. So then I get into the spending in addition, so progress on spending with additional recommendations. So now what this is talking about is what's been done, what has been done as a district so far, whether we've accepted the funds, whether we budgeted the funds, whether we still need to budget the funds, and then what needs to be done as far as moving forward. So recommendations to the board, again, I'm not going to read every single one of these for you because I kind of alluded to the fact at the beginning of this, when I started talking about the CARES funding, is that when these all started coming out, we started putting them in certain places, but then these additional CARES funding came out and said, these funds need to be used for summer school. They need to be used for X, Y, Z. And that's why I gave you the description of which one can be used for. So in moving forward and allocating all these funds to the appropriate spots where they should be and maximizing the dollars that you guys are receiving as a district, we're recommending that we shift these funds around and then we put them where they should go as far as maximizing your dollars. And then there was one thing I wanted to talk about before when I started getting into the levy, is that we have the PMA funds. And so I wanted to ask you guys as a board, are you guys aware of the PMA funds from the last referendum that was passed here in Royalton? And are there any stipulations you guys know about using those funds?
No, I don't know of any stipulations
Okay.
that were set forth on it.
Okay. And the reason why I ask is because when I first saw that we had PMA,
I think I'm the only board member that was here when that was passed.
okay, well, that's good, because I did have a question for Tyra.
Mhm.
Okay, so if you were here in the past, so when I work with PMA funds, what usually happens is that we do a build out like this, right? And then when the construction company will come to me and say, this is your invoice, and then I'll do a draw from the PMA, but then the treasurer would get a call from the bank and say, you're getting ready to do this transfer, do you approve this? And I just don't want you, if I decide to use these funds, or we as a district decide to use these funds, to get a call and not be,
Sure.
so I'll make sure that I'm in communication with you. And the reason for this is, I'm talking about this PMA funds and how I forgot about it, but we had talked about a bus, we talked about HVAC. I know that Tony had brought to me talking about doing shot clock and wiring and getting an electrician. All this stuff can fall, not the bus, but the electrician, the HVAC, all that can fall under PMA. And we have about $125,000 in there, and I would recommend using that. And the reason why I'm recommending using those funds is because you have 3 years to use those funds from the date of which you received them in the bank. So we're beyond that point, and I called the higher up at PMA. Can't think of his name off the top of my head. Just told you Steve Pumper. There you go, Steve Pumper. So I called Steve Pumper, and he's like, "Yep, you should probably use those funds." Now, he goes, there are ways to get around that. However, I would recommend using those funds. We got about 125 grand. Now, I mean, I have ideas around how to spend that, like I said, using those funds for Tony, getting those shot clocks, and then that cost is only gonna go up. I like his idea of jumping on it right away, because that cost is only gonna go up.
And by the way, the Minnesota State High School League is requiring shot clock, so that's not just something our conference is doing, it's required.
And I thought they talked about that last time, so I apologize for not bringing that
No,
up,
it's
but it's
okay.
something we have to do. It doesn't have to be done now. I think the
23-24 season.
yeah.
But
But then there's so many pluses to doing that now, especially getting these kids, like if you're coaching these kids, if you're in the programs, and I know you guys are big in sports, just like most districts are, you want to start getting acclimated to that shot clock, right? And acclimating your kids, and even if it comes from the, you know, 4th grade up, you know, using that to help your kids out. And what better time to do it now, get them in and start using them. I had also mentioned HVAC, of applying some of those funds there. So that's going to free up some of the ESSER dollars that we could use towards other things that we need within the district. It's all about maximizing the dollars we already have. So that's now bringing me back to this point, because we talked about the buses, we talked about everything, and then putting that off. Well, I'm here telling you, we can do it all. You know, we can do it all, and we don't need to take anything out. Because I don't want the school to suffer by not getting a bus. I don't want the school to suffer by not doing the HVAC program. I don't want the school to suffer by not getting the, you know, the shock box and the electrical work that's going to take to do that. And if there's any time to do it, now is the time. And as I said before, I'm just here to oversee the finances, you know, and it's all about the kids, the students, and staff. That's bottom line. That's what my job's all about. And then making Christine look good. But these are the recommendations. Like I said, I'm not going to go through every single one of these, but these are the recommendations, and I guess I'm asking you to trust me to do my job in overseeing the finances for the district and putting these dollars where they should go. And
Can I ask a question in here or not?
yeah, please do.
So how come we didn't know there was money left in that PMA?
That's
Can you we just didn't know, or?
Well, from when I took over and I saw that there's PMA funds available, they were kind of spread over different, they go into CDs. And then I told them to combine them into one. And I asked them about the questions about using the funds. And then Christine, I believe, mentioned that the board
I
had
think
been told.
Dawn had talked about them, but I don't know that she used that language of PMA. Because I thought.
I
that she
haven't
had-
heard this for like
Dawn had talked
2
about
years, 3
construction
years.
funds.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
Remember the construction funds?
maybe.
That's how she used her language, but she didn't know if, she didn't know about, I don't know that she knew
Okay.
about the 3-year requirement part.
Okay. Guys, you can't know what you don't know, but neither can I, so.
Yeah.
All right.
Questions?
Yeah, so can we approve, like you said, if these PMA funds can cover some HVAC and losing those ESSER funds, can we approve to like, because I know we had taken some, we didn't do the bus
But
to,
now we can do the bus.
yeah, so we can like shift, even though we already approved
Oh,
it,
yeah,
we
we
can
can-
now say, okay,
yes.
we're gonna approve to use these
Yeah.
PMA funds for this, so this loosens up these funds. Okay,
Correct,
perfect.
because it's just a budget with MD, we haven't spent it yet.
Okay.
We just budget it, so if we need to change the budget, we can.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Because that's why they give us, we have all those years, and remember we had the contingency, we
Yep.
eventually had to budget that and use it,
Right.
and they were fine with that.
Yeah.
This is 2 years from now.
We took some money out of the fund balance to finish what we needed, or did we not? No, we didn't.
No,
We left
we,
it, okay.
we used ESSER,
Okay.
but we didn't
We
buy
didn't
the
get
bus, because we
You
thought,
said we could.
but now we can use this PMA to do that HVAC, part of that HVAC, remember the additional cost of HVAC, and then still get the bus.
Yeah.
And then we're looking at vans as well. I just want to see the ages of our vans too, because if you have to every 12 years buy a new van, if they're transporting students. So if we're running to the end of that, that'd be an opportunity as well to use these kind of funds versus general fund dollars.
Yeah, and I'm not asking for you guys to approve every expenditure. I'm kind of looking for a blanket, but essentially to just, make the changes that need to be made. But I'm new here, so I do not want to come here and step on anybody's toes or anything like that. So I'm just.
But it's a working budget. It's gonna get changed again.
Well, yeah, I mean,
We
when
have
it
a lot
comes to,
more,
when
because we have more to spend.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
gonna get changed again. That's how everybody has to realize. It's a working budget. It's going to.
Yeah.
It's kind of a wishy-washy roadmap, so.
Yeah. And from my experience in other districts that I work with, I typically will revise the budget February, March timeframe. And I think I talked about that right before, but that will be the
Yeah.
roadmap for FY '23 budget. Do we know if more cares funding's coming down the road? No, we don't. Yeah,
Will this deplete all of our ESSER funding then? Will this deplete it?
Yeah.
Well, then what will the balance of that be? Because I think that's why the 100 and whatever thousand was put in the PMA was to keep it. So that we did have a little cushion there. And I mean, I think that was the thinking. Now,
I don't think so, because when we did the school, the pumps went out, what, 3 months into it, and if it was $100,000 sitting around, we'd have used it for that. That was $85,000 to put the new heating pumps in it.
yeah.
I don't think we knew it was there, to be real honest. I don't think we did. Would you agree with me, Joel? Hey, you remember this?
When was that? When did that?
So we were able to heat a good part of this with the boilers that we have. But the pumps weren't big enough, because once you added all the feed on, the pumps weren't big enough to push the water. We couldn't push the water far enough. We needed more horsepower.
And
Which
so
was
what
was
did
the same thing as the elementary school, and there wasn't enough power to
Oh.
run the pump. I mean, it wasn't
So you
just
get
the
the
new pump,
electrical.
it was, yeah, it was
Yeah.
electrical, it was everything, you
So
know?
did you use capital money for that or LTFM or?
We used capital money for that,
Okay.
because we had exhausted LTFM at the time for the roads, because when we broke into some of these roads were, you know, getting really close to needing it, and so we used up a lot of LTFM, and then we did that bond to finish the roads.
Right.
And which now looks like genius, because what it would cost to do the roof now is
It's
probably
unbelievable.
4 times as much, but how do you know that when you're doing it, so.
Yeah.
Okay,
And Mary, to go back to your question, if you don't mind going back up to the first couple slides again. To answer your question, now, even though, so just looking at the top one for FIN 150, even though it's for summer academic mental health support, you know, we say what we're using the funds for, but every single dollar of that has to be budgeted. It has to be budgeted by MDE. Now, if we don't use it, and then we just move it over into the next year with what we call a course code. So a course code would then determine what year that fund's being used. 000 course code would mean it's being used this year, 0111 would be next year. But every single dollar has to be budgeted, whether that's in contingency or whatever the case may be. But so from a budgeting standpoint, revising CARES funding, we can revise this 90 million times. It
I
doesn't.
realize that finances are very, very fluid, because you just don't know when
Yeah.
your need is gonna pop up. But I just wanna make sure that we have monies available at all times,
Right,
just in case, you know, something crazy goes wrong.
yeah, and I would wholeheartedly agree with that. So I'll shut up about CARES funding unless you guys have any more questions. No more questions? Okay, so basically looking for approval to do what we need on our end, as far as the budget goes, and revising that to give the district everything they've asked for. And if you guys go through this and you guys are bored and can't fall asleep, be sure to pull this up and read it, you know, it'll put you to sleep pretty quick. All right, so if you don't mind, I'm gonna quickly just show you my budget update. Go with the big one, not the presentation, just for a quick overview. I'm not sure what you guys' budget reports look like before, and I normally will not stand up here this long, I promise you, for you guys trying to get home, I get it, but first time, the big overview one. Yeah, not that one just yet. Budget, is the budget the presentation? No. No, I'll just pull it up and I'll show it to you guys. Hopefully you guys can see. If not, I'm not sharing anything, right?
No.
Okay. All right, so the initial budget overview is just a few, hopefully you guys can see this, just a few pages of all the finances for the district. Okay, so I don't want you guys, I don't know if you guys are used to looking at that, but I put together a PowerPoint, kind of just highlighting the overall items. So then if you can pull up the PowerPoint for the budget presentation now, then I'll just walk through that. This will be my typical quick finance meeting. So the November budget update, and Christine said, wasn't this December? No, we're talking about last month because we had to close out the month. So then if you scroll down, typically what I do for my districts is that I will share with you what I did the adopted budget on. I don't know what that number is coming in new to the district. So I looked back at what your FY 21 data was at the end of the year, which was 920. Then I'll give you an update on this slide, talking about where we're at for plus or minus ADMs from our adopted budget to kind of give you guys an idea of what that revision is going to look like. If you go down to the next slide, then I just share the revenues through the month of November, and then I point out any highlights that I want to talk about in my next slides, but I just put red boxes on them to kind of look at them. The first one, I think that's on the federal line. I'm kind of looking at a weird angle, but you can see we're $195,000 less than we were in November of 2020. And then what is the reasoning behind that? The reason behind that is I looked at our draws for federal revenues, and we just simply haven't done very many federal draws this year so far. But that will change, and I'm going to do some massive draws in December, so that we can recoup those funds, and it's in our bank, not the government's bank, and then we can start drawing interest off of that. Now, with that said, there are some districts that will wait till the end of the year to do their federal reconciliation. I do not like to do that. I do it every quarter, and then I do draws off of that, because again, it's kind of like paying more in taxes and letting the government have your dollars. I don't want to do that. I want to have the dollars in our pockets. And then the bottom number is usually the one I want you guys to pay attention to the most. Where we are this time last year versus this time last year, and we are call it $33,000 behind pace from where we were last year. And you can see the reason why. The federal draws, if those were done, we'd be well ahead of pace from where we were last year. And then the next slide is probably just me saying that all over again, so we can so pretty much that's what I said already. So we'll go on to expenses. And then here, I didn't really see anything out of whack. $301,000 ahead of pace where we were this time last year, and a lot of that has to do with CARES funding and needing to spend those CARES dollars by a certain time frame. So next slide, please. All right, so 331, why? So regular education costs up due to COVID. Extracurricular activity back to pre-COVID levels and even above a little bit, which is great. Last year we simply didn't have all that revenue coming in for everybody coming to watch games, and now we're starting to get back to that, which is awesome to see. And then CARES funding being spent for one-time expenditures. So my next slide is the best one, and that is any questions? That means Bueller. No, it's more for them just to know if they're, because these need to be, technically these reports need to be in 3 days early, but Christine being an overachiever, she likes to have them in the Tuesday before the board meeting. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to come with any questions you may have. Otherwise, I will get off my soapbox literally.
I'm good. Anybody else have a question?
Okay.
Thank you, Scott.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So getting back to our agenda here, we got the final levy. We've all looked at it. I got it right here, a copy of it that Ryan's gonna sign if we pass it. So does somebody want to move it?
I'll move it.
Second.
Was moved by Director Hofstad and seconded by Director Bauman to approve the final levy 2021 payable 22. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? All abstain. Motion passes 6-0-0. Final levy is approved. ESSER funds, CARES, and federal financing update. Is there a motion to approve the update on the, what do we call that, a budget, the ESSER budget?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
All those are.
kind of a budget, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sir, I'll move it.
I'll second.
It was moved by Director Hackett and seconded by Director Lang to approve the ESSER CARES and federal funds updated budget. Is there any discussion on this? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All who oppose? All who abstain? Motion passes 6-0-0. ESSER funds, CARES and federal funds budget update is approved. C, okay. We talked about the budget. That's what C was, so. Approval of donations by resolution. Does somebody want to move this? Member Hofstad introduced the following resolutions and moved it for its adoption, whereas all information is included in your packet. These donations are Cora Martin, a committee chair for the Wall That Heals in Rice, has generously donated $2,000 as a huge thank you for their amazing dedication to help out in August. $1,000 will go to the varsity football team and $1,000 will go to the varsity wrestling team. Also, the Royalton Lions Club has generously donated $8,000 to the RBI club account with the Royalton School District for the softball grandstand project. Also, there has been an anonymous donation of $1,000 for the RBI account for the use on the softball grandstand project. Also, John Cheetah has generously donated $52 to the girls basketball program. Whereas the conditions on these gifts are included in the packet, therefore be it resolved by the Royalton School Board to gratefully accept the gifts. The motion for adoption of the foregoing resolution was duly seconded by a member,
Lang.
and upon a roll call vote being taken therein, the following voted in favor of. Will you call the roll?
Director Bauman,
Abstain.
Director Garretts,
Aye.
Director Hackett,
Aye.
Director Hofstad, aye, Director Lang,
Aye.
Director Roaring.
Aye.
Let it be known, the resolution is passed 6-0-0. And no one voted against it. And a big thanks to all the people that donated and a big thanks to the person who donated, and we can't even think of them because it was anonymous. So that's neat. So, all right, going on. David Lem Conference in Wisconsin. This motion is approved David Lem to go to the conference in Wisconsin. This is something that policy committee needs to look up. David is our technology awesomeness guy. So the only place that he can go that's in our area is in Wisconsin. And you know, if it was in like Red Wing, it wouldn't be any further away. So we probably need to, we have a policy that says that anytime that out of state travel, it needs to be approved by the board, and we probably need to put a mileage on that instead of out of state. It's probably what we should do. So do you have anything to add to that, David? Oh, okay. So somebody want to,
I'll make the motion.
Second.
it was moved by Director Lang and seconded by Director Bauman to approve the motion for David Lem to go to the out-of-state conference in Wisconsin. Any discussion?
What's the cost of the conference? Do we know that?
300. The conference registration is $295, hotel for 3 nights, approximately $300 in total, meals $90. And then mileage would be approximately $200.
That's not bad.
No, I said that, no.
Any
You
other
say it's a
discussion?
Super one, or a super eight.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All abstain. Motion passes 6-0-0. Robotics Club, motion to approve the Robotics Club.
I'll make the motion.
I'm gonna have a small presentation, I think.
Dr. Workett asked me to speak about robotics a little bit, and where we are, because we did get some funds. So the Royalton Royals Robotics,
Are cubed.
are cute. We-
That was ours, Tony.
Squares.
We have an established 4-8 program already that's run through community ed. And we're looking to expand this into our middle school and high school programs. The hard part in expanding is cost. So Dr. Werekamp forwarded this on to me late August, and as busy as August and September have been, we had missed the first deadline to apply for the Initiative Foundation and a grant. And we applied for in early November for $5,000 and in-kind dollars from the district for another $5,000 to match. And we were approved the week before Thanksgiving for all $5,000. So we have $5,000 from the Initiative Foundation and then $5,000 from the district to help support this pilot project that we have going on. And originally, as we talked and we met, and a special thanks to the Rarings, the Hofstads, the Bishops, in continuing to fight and advocate for this program and the expansion, is, you know, we sat down and we talked, and what's our timeline? And as we talk about timelines and what can we do and how quickly can we do it, the hope was that we could get this middle school and high school program off the ground this year. But as we met and we talked, it became increasingly likely that we can't get the necessary materials in time to start the middle school, high school seasons. And, you know, as the materials come from overseas, there's no telling when we get it. And we don't want to do our students a disservice by putting behind other programs that already have the materials. So if we can't compete and we can't do it well and overstress the people that are volunteering their time to do it, we needed to make sure that we do it right. So we're going to hold off on the middle school, high school program until next year. And what we still like to do is we still like to use the dollars and still purchase the equipment and get it sooner rather than later so that it's ready to go. And so that's kind of where we are. So what this would do is this would be a pilot project for several years and expand the middle school, high school programming. It is, I don't know if you know much about middle school, high school robotics. I know that the elementary performed here for the school board several years ago. But this is a very time intensive thing. I know in Wilmer, their advisors spent from after school and they were in the building and shut the alarms, but they were there till 1 a.m. coding and building and testing and coding and building. And then at some point you've got a law of diminishing returns, you got to quit for the night, you know? So I understand how much time is in this and to do it right. So, I talked to the Initiative Foundation, they're good with us extending, because at the end of it, we have to have our outcomes and what did we learn and what do we gain from it. So I spoke with them and they're on the same boat. You know, they're understanding of the supply issues and they're very willing to extend this out to March or the end of season next year, 2023. So they're on board with that. Right now, it's a club. We'd like to continue to grow it and gain steam and interest in this before we look to roll it into our full-blown activities. We still will run our 4-8 program this year because we have the supplies necessary, and they're going to run that through community ed. For this club, the middle school high school club, we're gonna look for the same fees as the other programs that we have already established. And then as we have that generated sustained interest, we will then look to roll that into our other activities that we have. Money only goes so far. You know, it's you know, the expense that we've talked about of how much these robots are going to cost, these kits, and so the club will look to solicit donations from local area engineering and manufacturing industries and others They like to support the program, kind of like what we did for the trap shooting program, is they went out and they looked for donations, and they have a healthy student activity account balance because of that. So we would look to do that as well, to gain that cushion so that we can do our kids and give them a program to love. And it takes time, it takes money, it takes efforts. We've got the interest, we've got the family interest, we've got the kid interest. Now we just need to put it in motion.
Any questions? Yes.
What season, what's the season?
It's like, what, you say December to March, April?
Depends on the school. Some start like summertime. It's, could be a full school year, like September to March, April.
The competitions are in the spring.
Competitions start usually in November and they go until March-ish.
So is it similar to, they go to different schools, there's meets where you go and you'll take them and you'll
Yep. they have
Then you
big
can take-
tournaments.
calculate to where you are versus the other?
There's a couple big regional tournaments, Grand Forks, Duluth, Rochester. And those regional events, you qualify there, you qualify for the state meet down in the cities and,
State meets usually in St. Cloud.
oh, is it?
Mhm.
All right.
So is it MSHL?
They partner. It's kind of like trap shooting where it's a
Yeah,
partner. It's not a
Yeah.
full-fledged.
It's not a full-fledged.
Not yet. anyway.
Not yet, but there's a lot of schools with a ton of interest.
What's the idea on what's the startup cost? Just the curiosity, startup costs, and then have any idea what it is every year?
The kits can be used from year to year, but what are you talking about?
The kits are about, for middle school, high school, about 1,500 or so a piece. So if you need multiple robots to get multiple teams,
One question.
then
How many kids on a team?
depends on interest. We don't try not to go more than 4,
Okay.
just because they have to collaborate together and there's a lot of hands-on. So if you get too
Yeah.
many kids,
Too many are just standing there doing nothing.
right? So minimum of 2, up, and then we try to keep it to 2 to 4 in that range. Then to participate like with Hvac, you have to register each year. So there's registration fees per team. So depending on how many you register, it could be $100, $150 per team. And then entry into each tournament is $60 to $100, again, depending on the size of the tournament, per team. And then each year you have to purchase the new game field. So you can reuse your robots, but the game you play every year is different. So that's a couple $100 depending. So 200 to 500 depending if you're looking at IQ or the middle school, high school. IQ is elementary, so. So it is a costly program.
Mhm. Any other questions? Okay. It was moved by Director Hofstad. Is there somebody who wants to second it?
Second.
Seconded by Director Lang. To approve the $5,000 matching funds for the Initiative Foundation for Robotics Club.
I do have a question.
Discussion.
Yes, so are we gonna take, so to match, we're gonna take our 5,000 out of
General fund.
general fund? Okay. Thank you.
Unless I can find. if
It's
it can
somewhere,
work
so
with one of those other ESSER funds.
Scott,
not
can
the
you-
161, 61.
Well, what about that
They're trying to get them to
PMA
change-
or
change the statutes.
That's more for construction. Building.
they're building robots?
Good point.
You're gonna be in jail someday.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you.
Okay. So moved by Director Hofstad and seconded by Director Lang to approve the $5,000 for the robotics club. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All who oppose? All who abstain?
I was saying,
Motion passes 6-0-0. All right. $1,000 grant from the Central Minnesota Library Exchange. This motion is this was a motion that will be made to approve $1,000 grant from the Central Minnesota Library Exchange.
this is for flexible furniture in the elementary media center. They buy the material, we buy them and then they reimburse up to $1,000.
So moved.
Is moved by Director Garretts and seconded by Director Bauman to approve a $1,000 grant from the Central Minnesota Library Exchange for flexible furniture in the elementary. Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All abstain, all who? Oppose? Uh-huh. All abstain. Motion passes 6-0-0. I hope you all seen the little circle going around in my head. Buffering. Okay, the transportation director contract.
Yes.
I have the transportation director contract. We've all seen the transportation contract, right? All right, somebody want to move it?
Emotion.
Moved by Director Bauman. Is there a second?
I have a question. How does this amount compare to other districts in our area? Are we lower, upper, in between?
I haven't done a comparison to our neighborings, but when Scott and I talked and looked at what the duties were, we felt this was an appropriate amount. It is a little bit higher than what was there previously, but that contract had also expired.
Expired, I didn't mention, but yeah, okay, all right. But I think we should check sometimes when we're doing this.
Yeah, I won't check with
Just to
those that
stay
have,
more on.
yeah, those that have their own transportation,
Right.
not the
Yes.
companies, yeah,
Yes.
it's several use companies.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Was moved by Director Bauman and seconded by Director Garretts to approve the transportation director contract. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All abstain. Motion passes 6-0-0. Principal's contract. I have the principal contract too. You've been pretty good tonight. Right here. Everybody's seen that? Everybody knows what it is? I'll move it. Somebody want to second it?
Second.
Moved by Director Hackett and seconded by Director Hofstad to approve the master agreement between the Royalton School District number 485 and Royalton Principals Association. Is there any discussion? Any discussion?
I just see on there, it says 21, 22.
Yeah, we would like that not to be 32 years.
That's just on there, it's not.
No, it's not on here.
It's
It's
just on that.
July 1st, 2020 through June 30th,
We'll just have to
2022.
change. We'll change
Yeah.
that.
It's not on the contract
I
anymore.
Forever. Take what you get, huh?
Your kids will be like, can I have that check after you're underground?
So the one I got is dated 11/30/2021, so. Yeah, it's just the name of the file. So it's moved by Director Hackett and seconded by Director Hofstad to approve the master agreement between Railton School District number 45 and Railton Principals Association dated 11/30/2021. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All abstain? Motion passes 6-0-0. AFSMI contract. I also have that. Is the AFSMI contract? Everybody knows what it is. Everybody's seen it? Somebody like to move it?
Yes.
Is there a second? Hackett seconds it. It's moved by Director Garretts and seconded by Director Hackett to approve the AFSMI contract. This is the master agreement between the Independent School District number 485 and the AFSMI Council 65 Local 2564 dated July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2023. Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All abstain?
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0-0. Superintendent request for change in paid holidays. Oh,
So,
before I want to steal your thunder for
Oh.
a second. I just want to thank the board for working together so well with the contracts that we got done with our negotiating committees and stuff. It really went well. We worked together as a board, give ourselves a little pat on the back, and it's really good when we can work together like that and communicate that way. So, thank you. All right, now you can have your thunder.
okay, so I'm requesting to change the days of holidays, not increasing or decreasing, just changing the days. So the current superintendent contract gives Martin Luther King Day as a holiday, but we have staff here. Staff are here on a teacher workday. And then there's 2 floating holidays. Well, what this does for payroll is they have to adjust and make all these changes for one contract versus when you have an annualized staff, usually the holidays are all the same. It doesn't matter. The only thing that you'd have different holidays is if you work fewer days. So I'm requesting that we just align these holidays so they match all the other full-time, like HR director, transportation, or.
It's the same number of days, just
Same
different
numbers,
days.
just different days, and not having floaters, just assigning them, and then payroll just does their thing automatically.
Somebody like to move this?
I'll second.
Moved by Director Garrett and seconded by Director Bauman to approve the superintendent's request for a change in paid holidays. This motion made, well, all right. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All who oppose? All who abstain? Motion passes 6-0-0. Superintendent and board goals. I don't have a copy of them. though.
Did Michelle email those
Yeah,
today?
I
Did you get a printout?
didn't get a print out of
Can
them.
you make copies again for everyone? I don't have it.
It's on the packet.
We can you make that bigger and they can all see it?
Oh,
Yeah,
do you want it printed or on?
no,
Will
just make
this
it
work?
bigger.
Yeah,
It'll
just-
work.
yeah.
Everybody's seen it in their packet, right?
So basically, I did my part of the initial part. So we have a goal. Basically, there's one goal because it's a shortened time.
Yep.
frame. Normally you have 2 or 3 even. So the goal set was begin to refresh the strategic plan for Rolton Public Schools, proactively develop and implement steps toward crafting a student-focused and forward-facing plan to carry the district into the next 3 to 5 years. The strategic plans are generally, it's nice to have them 5 years and you start thinking about it around 3 or 4 about the changing, if so, the refreshing, so to speak. So evidence for the goals, my part. So I put down that I would explore options and begin implementing the facilitation process of the development of short and long-term goals. Throughout the strategic planning process, superintendent ensures student achievement for all is reflected in the goals of the strategic plan. And throughout the strategic planning process, the superintendent ensures that an open, productive, caring, and trusting environment among staff is embedded in the goals of the strategic plan. And that's based off of those sub elements that you all voted on as a board. Well, we all did, myself included. And so how can the board support the superintendent in this area, identify key stakeholders within the district and introduce them to superintendent so that they can participate in strategic planning, right? And then develop parameters and create context for each step of the process. So that was through that discussion. So basically looking at the standards and elements that the group all voted on was that governance, team goals, and our strategic plan, and then teaching and learning, curriculum instruction, and culture of cooperation. That's how those got added into the top piece. And so December, we would need to approve this, and then January, we would start in with a formative evaluation. That was also discussed at that meeting, that special meeting, and then the year end would be in June.
We would set those. My thought is we should set those dates at our organizational meeting so that we can't just say, oh, we're too busy right now. We shouldn't do it. Because otherwise it'll be June and we won't have done anything, so. We're really good at that. So somebody want to move this?
A motion. A second.
Moved by Director Bauman and second by Director Roaring to approve the superintendent and board goals as presented in the packet. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All abstain. Motion passes 6-0-0. Okay, so now we're to the policy reading. So first reading policies is 414 is mandated reporting of child neglect or physical or sexual abuse. 414 maltreatment reporting form. 415 mandated reporting of maltreatment of vulnerable adults. 506 student discipline. 514 bullying prohibition policy. And 522 student sex non-discrimination. 616 school district system accountability. Policy 806 crisis management policy. And the second reading on the policies will be 524 internet acceptable use and safety policy. That's the one I was talking about. So that we'll have to do some more work on that one, just more looking at that one. Approval of second policy readings.
So this will be a final.
Final reading due to minor changes. So motion to approve these second policy readings are of all the second ones, just.
No, just 515.
515.
Yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause of
protection
the-
and privacy of pupil records. So that one, all we did was change a little bit of verbiage or
It's like abbreviations. to
Yeah.
abbreviation,
Should
vice
from-
versa.
from MN to Minnesota.
Or statute. SAT.
Subsections.
Yeah, so the in 3 years, they could just change it back to MN, so.
Exactly.
Nice.
I'll make that motion. To approve.
Okay. Moved by Director Lang, second by Director Hofstad to approve number 515, protection of privacy and pupil records. Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All who oppose? All who abstain? Motion passes 6-0-0. Then we have our third reading policies, which were 102, the equal educational opportunity. 406, public and private personnel data. 503, student attendance. 507, the corporal punishment policy. And 534, the school meals policy. Who would like to move these?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. Moved by Director Lang and seconded by Director Hackett to approve 406, 503, 507, and 534. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All who oppose? All who abstain? Motion passes 6-0-0. All right, our upcoming meeting schedule, Tuesday, December 21st at noon, 1200. Finance meeting. Monday, January 10th is our 6 PM is our organizational meeting. Wednesday, January 12th, at 9 AM, we have our policy meeting. And Tuesday, January 18th at noon, finance meeting. Is there any other meetings?
Negotiations. This week.
When are they? When's that?
Rest on Wednesday, that to get on it.
Rest.
Yeah.
It's on the 21st,
20:45.
At the 22nd.
22nd at
Wednesday,
3:45 PM.
Not AM, we don't do AM well.
Okay. Any other meetings? All right, Somebody like to move to close the meeting for negotiation strategies as permitted by Minnesota statute section 13D.05 subdivision 3A.
So moved.
Second.
It's moved by Director Lang and seconded by Director Bauman to move into closed meeting. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All who oppose, all who abstain. Meeting will reconvene in 10 minutes, be a closed session. Open meeting is adjourned, or we'll go in and close meeting at 7:30.
You guys are going home, guys.
Thank you everyone for coming.
Yeah, you're staying.
I know.